Hi friends, today's topic is Lesson 20 of Milestones 5 book, Let's Make Peace Not War. Story time. The effects of the nuclear weapons. During the final stages of World War II, 1939 to 1945, the United States of America dropped nuclear weapons on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The first atomic bomb made of uranium was dropped by the US military over Hiroshima, a city in Honshu Island in Japan, on August 6, 1945. About 140,000 people died from this explosion and 100,000 were injured. The second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later on August 6, 1945. About 74,000 people died and 75,000 were injured. These atomic bombs caused large-scale devastation. In the following months, a large number of people died because of burns, radiation, sickness, and malnutrition. The lakes and rivers were poisoned. Many hospitals were destroyed and there was no transport or communication network. Many homes, schools, churches, etc. were completely devastated. For decades, the soil was contaminated with radioactive elements causing cancer. Today, the citizens of these two cities pray that no country in India or on earth should ever face such a disaster. All the countries of the world need to join hands for world peace and not allow another nuclear war to take place. Let us now learn about the birth of the United Nations. Spotlight. Formation of the League of Nations. Formation of the UNO. Objectives of the UN. Organs of the UN. The Industrial Revolution started in England, 17th century, and spread to many European countries. These countries needed raw material to make goods and markets to sell them. Each country wanted to exploit the underdeveloped countries like Africa and Asia to exploit them for resources. Thus, they started colonizing them. India too became a colony of the British Empire. The fight for supremacy amongst the European countries led to the First World War in 1914. This war lasted for 4 years and led to mass destruction of manpower and resources. Formation of the UN. After the First World War ended, several nations of the world came together and decided to form the League of Nations. The aim of this organization was to peacefully resolve the disputes between various countries through discussion instead of war. However, peaceful talks among the nations fell through and the Second World War broke out in 1939. This war lasted for 6 years. USA, in retaliation to the attack by Japan on Pearl Harbor, dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This led to destruction on an unparalleled scale. Good to know. The atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima was caught by Little Boy, and the one on Nagasaki was called Fat Man. The countries of the world decided to come together again to prevent another world war. Thus, in 1945, the United Nations (UN) was born. On 24 October 1945, in San Francisco, around 50 countries of the world signed the UN Charter, which was a set of rules that all member countries had to abide by. Franklin Roosevelt, the then President of the United States of America, gave the name United Nations. Today, 192 countries are members of the UN. The main aim of the UN is to maintain peace and security in the world. Most nations being armed with nuclear weapons, it is absolutely necessary that conflicts and disputes are resolved by peaceful discussions. UN objectives, in addition to maintaining peace and security, are to develop friendly relations among countries, to respect equal rights and freedom of all human ensure progress and development of underdeveloped nations, to have respect for basic human rights, to improve education in poor countries and preserve the environment. It also operates according to several principles. They state that all its member nations should respect each other. All members should adopt non-violent means and refrain from the use of force or threat. The UN addresses many problems like international terrorism, civil wars resulting in refugee influx, economic crisis, and unequal wealth distribution between the rich and the poor countries. The UN has also played a very important role in discouraging the build-up of weapons of mass destruction, which can lead to massive destruction. The UN is not an organization that collects taxes or forces from any country to follow laws. It is an international platform for discussing problems and finding solutions. Time to think. Why do countries wage wars against each other? What would happen if the world was without borders? Would there be less wars among the countries? Any country can become a member of the UN if it follows the goals of mentioned in the UN Charter. The UN members attempt to come together and combat global problems such as poverty and other situations faced by economically backward people in the world. They also fight assist people in fighting disability and diseases. The organization also appoints goodwill ambassadors to make people aware of its aim and programs. Organs of the UN. The Secretary General is the principal administrative officer of the UN. Apart from that, there is a General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, Secretariat, International Court of Justice, and the United Nations Trustship Council. General Assembly is the prime organ of the United Nations or UN. All the members have one vote each in the assembly. The kind of work done here is a lot like the parliament in our country. Issues of global importance are discussed here. The assembly meets once a year and its head office is in New York. Security Council's main area of responsibility is maintaining global peace. It has 15 members and 5 among them are permanent. The other members are elected for a term of 2 years each. United States of America, United Kingdom, France, Russia and China are the permanent members of the Security Council. The main responsibility of the Secretariat is to maintain records and execute the daily functions of the UN. Its head is known as the Secretary General. It also tries to make sure that all the policies created by the UN are followed properly. The UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's photo. Okay, now let's go proceed more further. The Economic and Social Council looks after the economic and social work done by special agencies. It strives to improve the living conditions of people across the world, safeguards human rights, sends essential items as food and clothing to the poor and those who are victims of some natural calamity. It also deals with global issues such as trade regulations and women empowerment. Next, the International Court of Justice, also known as the World Court, is based on the Hague at the Netherlands. It looks to solve problems between countries in a peaceful way. It has 15 judges and they are elected for a term of 9 years each. The Trustship Council does not exist anymore since the 11 regions or trusts that as they were once known that it was supposed to look after have now gained independence. Council of UN. The Secretary General is the principal administrative officer of the UN. The UN has some special agencies which deal with matters related to food, agriculture, health, education and infrastructure. Then we have a fixed stop in the end of the page. Can you name the organization this logo stands for? It's above you, your teacher or your ma'am would help you do that. What work does this organization do? Okay, with the seeing of the picture we can answer it's a mother, it's a global mother and daughter or a child, and it's with many like paddy type food or crop. This will be done by your in your book, or it might be in a copy, and your teacher or who is there, your social studies teacher, assistant teacher would help you to do that. Next, let's turn to the next page. First, okay, now we are going to study about this UNESCO, who is very known to us in this situation. Now, first, UNICEF, United Nations Children's Fund, works for the welfare of children all over the world. Next, UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, encourage nations to work properly or to work together in areas of education, science and culture. Third, WHO, the World Health Organization, promotes research in health, medicine and diseases, provides information about an outbreak of an epidemic as the bird flu, trains and helps workers to fight against diseases. Fourth, FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, warns countries about a shortage of food and also helps rearrange food during times of war, natural calamities, famines, floods, and emergencies. Now, before going to time to think, you should subscribe my channel. Of course, to this creation. Let's furthermore. Time to think. Find out the name of a non-government organization (NGO) that works for the welfare of the people in your area. You can do anything. We have many. You can answer any of them. Then another one helps poor nations increase their food production by educating them on methods to improve agriculture and also provides them with seeds, fertilizers and equipment. And last and a fifth one, ILO, International Labour Organization, helps the workers by improving labor laws, working standards, providing employment opportunities and solving work-related issues. So with this we have some logos of the UN agencies. Okay, means what we have studied now, no? So I want to tell you nothing now. Of course, we were told by everyone, ma'am, whoever. We have five, and there are five pictures, logos also. So each can be there is a logo of the thing which is given in the previous page. So you should always know that this is some of the thing given here. Be very careful, okay, by your listen, okay. Now, after finishing the chapter, we will learn now I know corner and word power. Also, I will read out the exercises for you. Now I know. World War I broke out in 1914 and lasted for 4 years. World War II broke out in 1939 and lasted for 6 years, during which millions of people died. The UN was established on 24 October 1945 in order to maintain world peace and solve international problems. The Secretary General is the main administrative officer of the UN, which you saw the photo, the book itself. The UN has 6 main organs, the General Assembly being the prime organ. The UN has many agencies, like UNICEF, UNESCO, WHO, FAO, and ILO, as we have studied them here. Okay, UNICEF works for the welfare of children all over the world, and UNESCO looks after education, science, and culture. WHO ensures that healthcare facilities are provided to people all over the world. FAO or FAO looks after the food production and supply in the world, and ILO works for labor welfare. Corner, creative corner. Find out What are the major achievements of the UN? Decide. Was the League of Nations really a failure? Research. Who were the founding members of the UN? Right. What role has India played in relation to the UN? Word power. This can be read out by yourself because here I will be just reading the words. You should all read the meanings and understand. Colony, charter, human rights, civil war, refugee, epidemic. Exercises. Blanks. 1. The UN was formed on. No, I will give the answers. You should write it by yourself. 2. The main aim of the UN is to promote. 3rd. The Second World War took place in. 4th. The principal administrative officer of the UN is called the. 5th. The 6 organs of the UN are dash 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 and dash. Match the following. FAO, UNICEF, WHO, ILO, UNESCO. Welfare of children, health of people, better working conditions, freedom from hunger, education, science and culture. Let's go in the next page, which is page number 142. Choose a correct option. General Assembly or Security Council is the main organ of the UN. UNESCO encouraged countries to maintain peaceful or violent relations. The First World War started in 1914 or 1915. The UN Charter was signed on October 23 or 24. The Security Council has 5 or 6 permanent members. Right? True or false? After the First World War ended, several nations of the world came together and decided to form the United Nations. Next one, Security Council's main area of responsibility is maintaining global peace. The International Court of Justice is based at The Hague in the Netherlands. The UN has played a very important role in encouraging the build-up of weapons of mass destruction. Franklin Roosevelt, who was the president of USA, gave the name United Nations. Answer the questions. How do wars cause large-scale destruction? Write a short note on the effects of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. List out some of the problems faced by the UN in the present-day scenario. Mention the objectives of the UN. What are the functions of the FAO? Think and answer. What is the peacekeeping force? What would happen if there is a third world war? That's it. The UN agencies promote education all over the world. Be a UN ambassador and teach some underprivileged children. Project 1. Find out the information about Indians who were working in the United States and present your research in the form of a report. Second, divide the class into groups. Each group should draw a charter on the rights and duties of children. Surf and land. HTTP column /un.org/en/ HTTP column /www.unicef.org/India/. Self-assessment rubric yes, no, partial. If you learn the chapter very clearly, you can absolutely answer it. So bye friends, we did this much. See you in the next video. Bye.